Hey, welcome to our first ever episode of Truth Speaks. My name is Jasmine.
I'm Erica Danielle, Erica Speak Easy.
And we are coming to you with, just everyday topics, everyday questions, everyday things that are relevant to your life and how you can use ministry that we're taught, the Word of God, and just how we can apply that to our everyday lives. That is the purpose of this discussion, and we want everyone else to join in, give us your opinions, not just based off what me and Erica have to say. So today, Erica's going to bring up a topic that has been heavy on her heart, that she wanted to share with me. I'm already kind of in the know, but we wanted to share it with you guys as well, so that we can get you guys' opinion on this topic. Erica?
Okay, so really what I feel impressed upon my heart is, just the importance of really submitting our will to the Most High. Learning how, if you're going to do anything in life, if you want to chase your destiny, if you want to find out and walk in the purpose that God has created you for, you must first submit your will to God. And I feel like I guess the reason why it's so maybe crucial to me, or the reason why it's constantly on my heart, because I talk about this all the time, is because I think we have a very hard time doing that. Just for me, I know that I am a strong-willed person. I want to do what I want to do and how I want to do it. And I am a type of person where I do seek counsel, and I'll talk to other people. I talk a lot to my older sister. This is one of my older sisters. I talk a lot to my sisters. I talk a lot to my best friend, my mother. But at the end of the day, I always do whatever it is that I want to do. I may listen, I may take stuff in, or whatever the case may be, but I do what I want to do. And just in my own life experience, that has not always added up to what God wanted me to do. And because of that, I was just telling Jasmine the other night that God has had to sit me down multiple times to get me in line. And I think that, and I'm sorry to go on a tangent, but I just think that what happens is, that happens to a lot of us oftentimes, and we don't even recognize that's what's going on. We're out here living, we're out here doing whatever it is that we want to do. And not even to say that you're wild or you're doing ridiculous stuff or you're living an out of control life. You could very well be living thinking that you're serving God. You could be going to church, you could be tithing, you could be praising, giving, you can work in the church and everything else, and still not be living or walking according to the things that God wants you to do, and still be a very strong-willed person. We grew up in the church.
And let me just cut in real quick to caveat, to piggyback, off of that comment. A lot of times people are in the church. They're, like she said, they're going to church, they're working in the church, they're tithing, they're doing all the things that people that have been raised in the church have been taught to do. And they still feel like they're in this space where they're not growing. They haven't maximized on like projects. They're not getting anywhere, so to speak. They're not successful in the world's eyes, or even in their own eyes. That's a whole nother subject. But the reason why they're not is because they're doing what they're supposed to do, but they have not submitted to what God called them to do. Because just because you are following principles, you're doing what you're supposed to do, God tells each and every one of us certain things and assignments that he has us do. And if you choose not to do those assignments, but you're still in the church doing what you're supposed to do, you're still out of order. You're just following certain principles, and you will have some success. He's not going to have you out here destitute, but because you're not submitting to his will, not doing what he called you to do, not walking in your purpose, you're out of order. And that's what she's basically saying. And so many people submit to, they do work. They work they do that. They'll go to church, they'll sing in the choir, they'll be on the welcome committee, all that kind of stuff. They're tithe, but they really don't want to submit their whole life. They really don't want to live based on what God called them to do. And that there's a difference. And most people don't understand that there's a difference. They think if they're just following the commandments that they are, doing what they're supposed to do. And we are called to do that. But also God calls us to do other things, like other assignments, other, our greater purpose. Who are we impacting? And if it's just like if God says, go do this job over here, but you're like, no, I want to do this job because for various reasons it's more convenient for me. I make more money doing this job. I don't want to leave the state because I'm from here. I don't want to go there. The weather, whatever the case may be.
You're not listening.
Essentially, you're not listening.
You're not listening.
And even though you're like, I'm going to church, I'm tithing, I'm, reading my word.
Are you being obedient and are you pleasing God? Does that please God? And I think a lot of that, at the end of the day, a lot of what we do and what we're taught to do, not to say that it's a bad thing, but does it please God? Are you really doing what he called you to do? Because every life has a purpose. God does not bring any life into this world without a purpose. There is something that he wants you to do specifically that is outside of you living your day-to-day Wednesday Bible study, maybe Friday Bible study, Wednesday choir rehearsal, your usher board meeting, and going to church on Sunday. It's more to walking with God than just those things. Those things are great, and we're not downplaying anybody by any means. It's just we want you to get to a point, or everybody, we need to get to a point where we understand that when you're submitted to the Most High and you're walking with the Lord, it's a relationship. And the relationship is, you are God Almighty, you are the Most High, you created me for a purpose with a task in mind. And I have to submit as the created being to the Creator, to whatever it is you created me for. So the other things are just a part of our walk. They're a part of our walk, and they're essential things. Like I said, we're not downplaying anybody. They're essential things. But it is not that's not your greater purpose. And so the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because, like I said, I know there's a lot of people, and some people just don't have a real understanding.
No,
some
they
people
don't.
just
They
don't have a understanding. It's not that they're doing it
purposely.
Purposely, or out of being just disobedient.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lack of understanding there, and that is part of the reason why we feel like the Most High has called us to talk about these things so people can get an understanding.
And the reason why people have a lack of understanding is because while they're doing all those things, there isn't really a personal relationship. Because doing those things don't require a personal relationship. That just requires you going and signing up. And it's always good to offer yourself up for a vessel. It's always good to support your local church. It is always good to do that. But that doesn't mean it's like somebody might be like, I'm going to sign up for the usher board. Are you really meant to be on the usher board? Because they think that's what they're supposed to do. They think that's a good deed and all of that kind of stuff. And it is, but it may not be for you. And the reason you don't know that is because you don't have a real relationship with the Lord, and you're not. And sometimes people know. They just don't want to do what the Lord is telling them to do. They're like, no, I want to do the usher board because it only meets twice a week or twice a month or whatever. It's more convenient for them. So they choose to do that and think that, this is good enough. When it's like, no, that's like if your mom tells you to clean the whole kitchen and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to wash the dishes because this is going to take less time. I don't really feel like,
wipe it down, countertop, sweeping.
I don't want to do all that, but I'm doing the dishes. So, okay. And you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you did do something,
And going into that, sorry to cut you off, but going into that, great example. So when your mom comes home and she's upset because only the dishes are done, there's crumbs on the floor, the table isn't wiped off, there's crumbs on the counter, and she's upset, and you're sitting back and you're like, but why are you mad? The dishes are clean. There's no dishes in the sink. That's the same thing that happens in our lives. God will sit you down sometimes because you're not being obedient. And it could be purposely, or it could be I thought I was doing the right thing. And God, and when I say sit you down, it's like he will allow things to happen in your life. You'll start to experience different things. You'll start to experience uncomfortable situations, what I like to call unsavory situations, because they're not pleasant to you. It could be anything from your finances. It could be your relationships not going right. It could be now, all hell done broke loose at your job. You lost your job. Anything, but it just seems like, what is going on? And it's so often that we just look at it as like, what? Why, God? Why am I going through this? Why am I going through this? I go to church every Sunday. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I don't understand it. And it's like, maybe, just perhaps, God is trying to get your attention, because where you think you're doing A, B, C, and D, he may be like, I'm over here. And I want to get your focus over here so I can talk to you, so I can tell you that A, B, C, and D is cool, but really I want you down here with LMNOP. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's that simple. And I think that, I don't want to say that simple, but I want to say, like, that happens a lot in our lives, and we lack understanding of maybe why certain things could be going on in our lives. And sometimes it could be just that God is trying to get your attention, and he is trying to get you to submit yourself, submit your will, submit what you want to do to what I have for you. And in doing so, you must understand that this is really just your first step in your walk with the Most High. And also, a very important part is, you're not going to know everything. You're going to submit, and you're going to be looking for God to tell you, all right, so what am I going to do? What is it that you want me to do? I'm submitted to you. Yeah, I put asunder my will. I put asunder my will, and I want to do what it is that you have me to do, or that you would have me to do. So what do you want me to do? And then God is going to give you something like this, a little piece of something, right? Can you see that? Just a little something, and you're like, this doesn't make sense. What is this leading to? And then here comes all the thousand of questions. And I'm telling you this because don't let that little piece of the puzzle that you don't understand, that little glimpse, cause you to go back to what you know, or what you're comfortable to, or what you think is best. It is very crucial to know he's not going to lay it all out for you.
And sometimes the glimpse or the information he shows you may be about, circumstances, people, and things like that, and it'll be like the end result, and you're looking at these people, this circumstance, like, no, like, I know this person, this is no. But so when you're submitting, you have to have faith, and you have to trust in what you're submitting to. And so that's the other portion of it. You're not going to have all the information, or what he shows you or what he tells you doesn't line up with what you see. So it requires faith. It requires diligence. It requires trust. It requires just moving when he tells you to move. It really requires a lot of faith and trust, and just being still, and just, doing what he wants you to do. And it requires a lot of, basically what I'm trying to say is, requires faith, trust, and obedience. And I promise you, when you do those things, when you just don't look, and it's so easy to say, oh, just have faith, and then all the stuff around you is chaos. But think of it like this: you've been doing everything you know to do in your power, and it's still chaos. So what difference does it make if you continue to do what you're doing, or if you decide to try to trust the Lord? Because it's chaos either way it goes right now. So what we're saying to you is to submit and put your trust in God, and he will, it will get better, because it can't get worse trusting God than what you've been doing.
Right. That's good.
I thought so too.
No, that's good, and it's the truth, and it's a necessary point to factor out, because it's not always going to be It's not always going to be what you think. Things are not always going to be or appear how you think it's going to appear. I'll give you a great example. I moved out here to Texas with my sister going on 4 weeks ago. And I know that I was led by God to come out here. I thought I had got things lined up, was ready, because I know I'm like, God, I can't go to Texas without a job. This, that, and the third. And it was over a year that I didn't make sudden moves. I'll just say that. It was like I knew that God was leading me. I prayed on it. I waited. I did tell God there were certain things for me that I would feel better doing this, doing this with or whatever. And he did just that. And then I got out here and things looked nothing like I expected. There were promises, or there were things that God spoke to me about coming to Texas, things that I can expect when I get here. And I was expecting it as soon as I got here. And it looked nothing like it. And I'm not going to lie to y'all. I had moments, not even moments, when things first started crashing down, I'm like, Lord, this is nothing like what you said. And, woo-de-woo, I feel tricked. I repented for that because I feel bad. But I feel tricked, like, you know what I mean? So I'm saying that to say that, one, going into Jasmine's point, things may not look like how you think they're going to look. We know he's not going to give you a full picture. He's not going to give you the full story. All he's looking for you is to have a submitted heart. Do you have a submitted heart so I can use you? Because that is how God looks at us. Regardless of how we look at him, because we have all these expectations of the Most High, failing to realize that he has expectations of us. And the biggest thing that he's looking at is, can I use you? And I cannot use you if you are not submitted to me. If it's too much of you, it's too much of your will, it's too much of what you want to do, you're not a vessel that I can use. And we're looking at God like, oh God, I want to do this, I want this, this, and this. And I know I'm kind of going off a little bit, but I feel it is important to say. God doesn't have a problem blessing you, and he doesn't have a problem, not even just blessing, but giving you those things that you want to do. He doesn't really have a problem with that. God is looking at you like, but can I use you? You want all of this from me. That's not a problem. I'm the Most High God. Can I use you? Because you're here on earth. I need vessels here on earth to do my will. And in order for him to use us to do his will, we have to submit ours. Now, tying it back to, because I didn't get off track, my story, I'm saying that it's okay. There's going to be times that everything does not look perfect, like what Jasmine was saying. And it may still look chaotic, and you may not understand, and you may be like, nah, this doesn't make sense. I don't get it. But you just continue to trust in the Lord. You continue to trust in the Most High and continue to say, okay, yeah, but I know you got me. I'm still submitted to you. I'm not about to go out here and try to fix it. I talk about this a lot, how people, out of our humanistic ways, we try to go into fix it mode. And God is telling us, I don't need you to fix it. I got you. I just need you to trust me. Submit to me and trust me. It's almost like they go hand in hand, really.
They do. Because you can't submit if you don't trust. That's just what it is. And a lot of times when people hear submit, the word submit is like triggered.
Especially for women.
Like,
y'all know y'all don't want to
triggered. Okay. So when you hear the word submit, you just like, I'm triggered. I'm not submitted. Because people hear triggered and just lose it. But so, like she said, especially with women, I've been married for quite some time now, and I try, and let us not say that we're getting on here tooting our own horns like we just have all the answer. I try to submit, but there are times where I'm just like, okay, this is nonsense in my mind. You know what I mean? And I've been with him long enough to know he's not going to do anything crazy. Like,
are you talking about your man or your God?
I'm talking about my man right now.
Okay.
But because I wanted to tie that in.
Okay.
I've been with him, and he's a human. So we know God is perfect. he's not going to, have us doing something that we know his thoughts aren't crazy. We know he's not walking us into, like a burning building. He's not doing that. So if you can, and most people can't even do this part, but if you can submit in your relationship, you can definitely submit to God, because it's like, God, who is the being to submit to? I would say it's the Most High, because some of y'all are in relationships and submitting there, but then when it gets to God, it's like, hold up. It's like, or you hear the word submit and you're like, triggered, I can't do it. But it's like, you've been submitting to yourself, and it's like,
where
you're
is that
going nowhere.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying,
And we all do it. I know I do it. I don't know what this one does. But like I said, I've been set down by God a couple times because I was doing what I wanted to do. The first time, honestly, I didn't have as much information, I think. And like I said, we grew up in the church, but I don't think I was really as aware that I knew what God was doing. Actually, I don't know if you even recall, we did have a conversation about it. I was living in the Langports. I remember talking to you in my living room, and we had a conversation about it. And I told you, I think God set me down in 2007 when I was living on Cedar, and I had lost my job. It was a very trying time for me. Mm-hmm. But even in that, I didn't have the understanding that I have now. The second time when I got sat down, I had a full understanding of what was going on, and that's when I was like, okay, you got it, boss. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm just saying that because I think I can relate to people that are going through, we all go through trying times, but going through and not really having an understanding. And it's oftentimes that God uses our trying times, and he uses trials where we're looking and we're saying, God, why is this happening? Or, I know God doesn't want this happening to me, or whatever the case may be, but could be the very thing that God is using to get your attention. It could be the very thing, especially when you're experiencing thing after thing after thing after thing. That is like, God is like, girl.
So annoying. And then when God, you also have to take into consideration too, sometimes if you're experiencing the same thing over and over and over again, it's the same situation, same circumstance, same thing, it will behoove you to be like, why do I keep running into this same occurrence? Different players every time, but the situation is exactly the same. That should be like a clue. Like, if you moving places, or you're meeting new people, going to new job, whatever, and you're introduced to new people, but the circumstance and the situation is always exactly the same, the outcome, that's you. Like, you're the the what is it, denominator, common denominator in that situation. So it will behoove you to say, okay, God, why is this happening? God is trying to get your attention because you're doing the same thing, which isn't what he wants you to be doing, clearly. So that's why he's trying to, get your attention. People need to be cognizant of that, but most times people aren't cognizant of that because they're too busy trying to be the victim in a situation.
Or not even just being the victim. Sometimes you're just living life. Sometimes you're just living. Sometimes you're just going through the motion. I think it's very easy for us, just as people, we just go through. And I think that because God, understanding that God is a spiritual being, we have to, in order to get to him, let me not say that, because you don't need to necessarily to get to him. But when you start walking and you're trying to get an understanding and you're trying to get insight into what's going into your life, you have to be able to see beyond the natural and tap into the spirit and see what's going on into the spirit. And for us, because we live in a very natural world, we're very natural people. And when you're not walking like that already, or whatever, if you're not there, if you already haven't built that relationship. Because like I said, so many people go to church and there's no really built relationship. We go to church out of routine. We go to church out of, this is what I was brought up to do. This is just what I do. It makes me feel good. I feel good. I feel like I'm serving God. I'm doing whatever the case may be. But there's a lack of relationship and true understanding with God. So as you're going through Monday through Saturday, where you're not at church and you're living regular life and you're experiencing regular natural circumstances, you respond in a natural way. Sometimes it's not even just like, some people are playing the victim, okay? We do come across that quite often. But sometimes that's not even the case. Sometimes it's like, this happens, let me figure out how I'm going to solve this. And then the next thing, I'm just living. I take 2 steps forward, I take a step forward to take 2 steps back. I'm just living and responding, opposed to tapping in the natural, into the spirit realm or into the spiritual, and seeing that it's much bigger than really, this is just life. And this is just how life goes.
That's true.
So, it's just, the bottom line, or the main thing is, it's just, we want to encourage you guys. We want to encourage everybody. I mean, we sit up and do this all the time. We just chit chat and feed into each other, and encourage each other. But we decided, really, God led us, like, it's time to start encouraging the people. Like, it's really a disservice to the Most High, honestly, for us, or for anybody who has a deeper understanding, to not pour into the people who have a lack of understanding. Not that anybody is better than anybody else, or anybody, it's nothing like that. It's just, it's the same thing. Like, if we take it from the spirit, and it's like, okay, you got the keys to success, you turn around and you help the next person. That's all this is. There's some understanding. She has deeper understanding into things than I do. I'm going to say vice versa. She may not agree with that. I don't know. But, and I'm sure there's people out here that we're actually looking for you guys to comment. You may have a deeper understanding. The bottom line is, God just wants us to be able to each one teach one. Mm-hmm. And that's all we're trying to do, is just speak to those who maybe lack the understanding and maybe are looking for understanding. You may be saying, God, I know that there's more to this world. I know that there's more to what I see and what I'm doing, and I want to draw closer to you. I want to do what it is that you would have me to do. I want to know what my purpose is. I don't know where to start.
And to tie this up, and we do appreciate you guys stopping and watching our video. So here's some key points for you guys for takeaway. So the first thing we would like everybody to do is just to sit down and to really think. Just take a survey of your life, like the people in your lives, the circumstances in your life, everything, financial, job, education, whatever is going on in your life. Take a survey of that. See if you feel like there's been any growth within the last 5 years, because you know that if you don't grow, you're stagnant. And what does stagnation mean? Death. So take a look at that. See where you've grown. And sometimes growth, people automatically think wealth is growth, but it's not. And sometimes people automatically think wealth is financial. It's not. You can be wealthy in spirit. You can be wealthy in health. You can be wealthy in relationships. So take stock of all of that, not just how you're doing financially, like where you're at with everything. And if you find that you are lacking, or you find that you haven't seen any real growth, ask yourself, what have you been doing? And is there any room you could be different? And I can guarantee you the difference will be that you're doing things in your own capacity instead of submitting to the will of God. We hope that this has been edifying to your spirit. And please feel free to comment, shoot us any messages. If you have anything to add, we'd be happy to hear that. See us next time. Bye.